How's it going? Um, Today I wanted to talk a little bit about decals. I am working on this Japanese Zero. It's a Tamiya kit. But however, I had to get some aftermarket decals because the decals for this particular kit were so old that I went ahead and ordered some off of eBay. So these are TechMod decals. It's a pretty decent decal sheet. They are laying down pretty well. The original decals for this kit were so old that they actually started to disintegrate when I tried to apply them to the model. So as you can see, I've got the suns on the wings so far. This one's still still fiddling with it a little bit, but when it comes to decals, just like the rest of the model building, it requires time, it requires patience, and a little bit of finesse. So, and a couple of things I wanted to go over that help you do decals. Obviously, your hobby knife or X-Acto knife always helps. Some Solvaset and some Microset. Now, for those of you that do not know what these are, the Microset actually helps you put it helps you put the decals on. It's a decal setting solution, so it helps you slide the decals into position, and it helps them adhere to the model somewhat. Now this stuff, the Solvaset, actually helps the decals go down like into the crevices that are on the model. Gives it more of that painted on look rather than have it just look like a sticker on your model, so a little bit more realistic look when you use this stuff. However, you have to be careful with this stuff because if you overboard with it, you can damage your decal. Once you apply this stuff to your decal, you cannot move the decal. You'll just distort it or stretch it or whatever. So, and then of course I use some soft bristle brushes. I think these were just cheap craft brushes. I think that my kids had. So I generally use the yellow one for the Microset, and then I use the red one for the Solvaset. Personal preference. I don't know if you have to use two different brushes, but it's just what I do. And then of course a bowl of water, and then some tweezers. I like the reverse action ones because I don't have to hold them the entire time. As you can see, I've already got decals on here, and these are for the gas caps that will go. So I don't know if you can see in the detailing too much, but one will go here, one will go here. Oh, the other one was on the screen. There, and then up here on the toward the nose of the plate. So usually I take my decals, I put them in water, usually for 10 to 20 seconds. And that of course gives the decal enough time, the paper enough time to soak in any water, and allow you to actually slide the decals off the sheet. If you go too early, you run the risk of ripping your decals. You don't want to do that. If you go too late, sometimes the decals will just come right off the sheet and they'll be floating free in the water, and then you've got to try and retrieve it. Not so bad as tearing a decal, but I've actually torn a decal like that before too. So that's probably long enough, so I'll just shake that off, set that here for now, move this water aside, and then I will take my Microset, take my yellow brush, dip it in, and then I'm going to put it on the areas where I'm going to apply those decals. So one there, and then one up right here on the nose. And then I know some folks, they just use regular water for their decals. That's all fine and good too. I just like the added benefit of using the microset when applying the models, or applying the decals to the model. So let's see here. And then your decals too, the larger ones, sometimes you can move them with your finger into position and it's not a big deal. You still just have to be really gentle. But the smaller ones, I usually try and do it with a brush. Yep, okay, you can see it moving. And I'll put it on the model here. It's kind of sitting on some liquid there. All right, I'll come back to that one. All right, then we'll get this one onto the wing. Excuse my sniffling. I think I've had some allergies pop up. So it's approaching, well, it is fall now, so stuff's starting to die off and whatnot. So I am undoubtedly sensitive to that. So I'm trying to keep that to a minimum, but all right. So go ahead and slide this one into position a little better. Sometimes too, you get the edges of your decal, they'll fold under. This is where patience really comes into play. Sometimes your decals don't want to fully cooperate. So, like I said, see this one, for whatever reason, is wanting to fold under it on itself. And I want to get it into the best position that I can. So that's pretty good. Let's see if I can work this one into its place where I want it. For some reason, when they put the, I'll call it the gas cap detail on this model, that wasn't, the lines weren't cut as deep as I'd like. So it's a little hard to see unless I get it reflected in the light just right, but I think I managed it okay. All right. The other thing that's really helpful too with decals is a cotton swab. So helps soak up any excess liquid and things. You just want to be careful not to move your decal once you have it set in position if you can help it. Plus it helps it obviously dry a little quicker. So and you want to be careful too, because sometimes the decal will actually stick to your Q-tip, and obviously we don't want that. All right, I've got my decals set into place. Now I'm going to take my Solvaset and dip it in. You don't need a lot of this stuff. You want to use it sparingly, and then just apply a little bit to the decal that's on the model. And then what this will do is help it, like I said, it kind of causes it'll cause a chemical reaction in the decal, because the decal is just a thin film. and it'll help it adhere to the model, giving it a more realistic look. Now the other thing I want to talk about with decals too is if you look here on this, hopefully you can see that kind of got messed up there a little bit. Now I'm going to actually, later on when I get to the weathering portion of this model, I'm actually going to hide that with a little bit of weathering. I've seen some other techniques with that. So basically what they do is they'll take it and make it look like it's chipped in that area, and that helps hide any flaws that's on your decal. So it's one of those instances where weathering does come in handy. So, and weathering actually in general you can use to hide other flaws on your models and whatnot. So anyway, nothing real exciting in this video, I know, and I know this is very basic stuff, especially for you guys that have been building models for a long time. But I just wanted to show you guys how I apply decals to a model and what's been working for me quite well. And I've had pretty good results. If you go back and look at some of my other videos, especially the one where I had my Corsair, the decals in that actually turned out pretty good, and ultimately I was pretty happy with them. So, and I just used the micro set, the solva set, and that's what I got. The other thing about too, like with the solva set, sometimes you need to apply it more than once to get the look that you want for your decals. Oh, the other thing too I want to talk about was applying a gloss coat. If you apply a gloss coat, and actually this is the first time that I've done this, I've always just applied my decals directly to the model on the over the dull paint or over the matte paint. This is the first time I've tried the gloss coat method, and actually works pretty well. I will say this. And then they say once you've applied it, your decals, you want to seal them in with another coat of gloss, and then after you do gloss, you want to do your dull coat, because that allows your decals to be sealed in. They're on the model. There's not a chance of them coming off. And then once I have the dull coat applied, I can go ahead and start the weathering process. So obviously there will be more videos to come as I work on this model. If you guys could please take a few moments to like my videos and share my videos, that would be amazing. And you know, if you guys want to see any particular methods demonstrated or want me to do a particular video, put it in the comments, and I will certainly do my best to accommodate. So I'll go ahead and I'll sign off, and I'll talk to you later. Happy modeling.